Flo Wirtz, you all will eat your words.
Scores in the Premier League for Liverpool.
This is the Florian Wirtz we were expecting.
Mo Salah, Florian Wirtz, threads in the third.
I was telling myself, you did so good in Germany, you can't just forget how to play football like this.
Wirtz is finally starting to look like the superstar that Liverpool thought they were signing. The goals are coming, the assists are coming, I'm coming.
What did he say?
Wirtz's magic is back. You can see it in the way he drifts between defenders, the way he spots passes that no one else even attempts. He's just playing with confidence right now, and that's a huge relief because not long ago, there were real worries.
At the moment, he's not playing at his best. He might feel under pressure because he's such a big signing, but it's not quite working for him at the moment.
People were starting to ask uncomfortable questions.
Another player that there have been questions about is Florian Wirtz. I mean, are we just looking at a young player coming to terms with the pace and the physicality of the Premier League? Or is there a bigger problem there, do you think?
It honestly felt like he was a step behind everyone else. Not just in the numbers, but physically.
You see a player now losing slowly his confidence. And also, he's just like floating around. He can't find his position. And that is a terrible thing.
Then, of course, the output wasn't there. And for a player with his reputation, that was really concerning.
I just had to stay strong in my mind and keep believing in myself that at one point it has to click.
Now, even during that slow start, there were signs that he is still a magician. Even when he was going through the Agent 007 period, Wirtz would still have moments that made you stop and think, yeah, this guy can be different.
Even when he wasn't firing all cylinders early on, he still had moments of brilliance. He still had little moments where you thought, hello, that's going to come once he can find his feet consistently.
Now though, there's no hinting anymore. Wirtz looks like a proper superstar again. It all started with that goal versus Wolves. It was his first Premier League goal for Liverpool, but it felt so much more symbolic than that. It felt like a release. For him, for his teammates, and for the fans at Anfield who had been waiting to see why the club spent such huge money to bring this guy to England. Because before that point, life in the Premier League had not been easy for Wirtz. Liverpool had paid around £116 million to sign him from Bayer Leverkusen, and with that kind of fee comes serious pressure. Bayern Munich and Manchester City had wanted him too, which only made the expectations even higher. On top of that, this was the first time that Wirtz was living outside of Germany. He had come to a new country, new league, with new physical demands. English football is brutal, especially for creative players. The pace is faster, the duels are tougher, and you get far less time on the ball, especially compared to the Bundesliga where games are a little bit more open. Liverpool knew that. That's why they put Wirtz on a special gym program to help him add strength and deal with the physical side of the league. They also knew that naturally it was going to take some time for him to adjust. Now in the beginning he wasn't awful, but he wasn't playing anywhere near the levels that we saw from him at Leverkusen. He covered a lot of ground and did it with a high level of intensity, but that was the only positive to highlight in his game at that point. The only praise that he was receiving was based on how much distance he had covered, which it's not a bad thing, but that's not really what you want your creative attacker to be known for. His primary role was to create moments of magic first. Liverpool fans needed him to become the next Coutinho, not the next Jordan Henderson. Whether he was playing as a number 10 or on the wing, fans expected him to instantly bring his Leverkusen form to England. People were already dreaming about his link up with Isak and Ekitike. And for a midfield that was still finding its new identity post-Klopp, Wirtz felt like the missing piece, kind of like the face of the new slot era. In fact, even Wirtz believed that his success would be instant.
Wanted it to be a instant success.
And why wouldn't he think that? He had dominated Germany, won individual awards, and delivered on big stages already. He was confident and he was joining a club that had just won the Premier League. But the Prem doesn't care about your reputation. When people talk about the Premier League, they use phrases like pace and power, and for Wirtz, those cliches became very real, very fast. In Germany, he had space, time, freedom on the ball. In England, that space disappeared instantly. The physical side hit him hard. Early in the season, he really struggled in games against Brentford, Everton, and Leeds. The intensity difference between the Premier League and the Bundesliga was very obvious. Even Arne Slot didn't sugarcoat it. After one match, he joked that Wirtz had cramped everywhere after 85 minutes. He wasn't injured, it was just a welcome to the Premier League moment.
It wasn't an injury, it was a welcome to the Premier League. It was after 85 minutes. I don't think he knew that he could have cramp in so many different places. and that's what happened.
Now, it wasn't just about fitness levels. In the Premier League, there's constant duels, non-stop pressure. At Leverkusen, Wirtz could save his energy and explode in certain moments. At Liverpool, Slot demanded pressing, tracking back, and constant work without the ball. Slot even later admitted that the effort Wirtz was putting in defensively was hurting him offensively, because by the time he got the ball, his legs were already gone and his head wasn't as sharp. The spark just wasn't there. Now, if the physical issues were worrying, the numbers were even more brutal. Game after game went by with no goals, no assists. First there was 1 match, then 5, then 10, and eventually the internet does what it always does. Wirtz became Agent 007. 0 goals, 0 assists, 7 games. The joke hurt, but the reality was even worse, because the drought didn't stop at 7 games. By December of 2025, Wirtz still hadn't registered a single goal contribution in the league. Across all competitions, he had gone 22 games without scoring. For a £116 million signing, this was disastrous. There was actually one moment in early December against Sunderland when it finally felt like the curse was over. Wirtz celebrated what he thought was his first goal. Months of pressure released in one moment, but then it was taken away. The goal was given as an own goal by Mukiele, so the 0 stayed right next to his name. He still had a donut in the goal section. Naturally, all the rival fans piled on, and that massive price tag started to feel like a weight dragging him down. Because at that point, every match was becoming a mental battle. He'd get into the right positions, but then rush the shot. Or in certain situations, he would play it safe when he could have shot it himself. That confidence that defined him at Leverkusen was just gone. He didn't look dangerous. He just looked lost. Now, to be fair, there were some moments where he played the perfect pass and someone else missed a chance, like the beautiful backheel pass he gave to Salah versus Chelsea. But even if he had gone a couple of assists and not gone 007, the reality was that this was not the same Wirtz that we had seen ball out for Leverkusen. As the drought dragged on, the conversation shifted. Maybe it wasn't just about his fitness. Maybe he just didn't fit in.
And I think that for me, you have to start putting a bit more responsibility on these players. They're not performing, really and truly. And he's one of the players for me that's got to that club. You talked about creativity and making chances happen. He's not making it happen.
At Leverkusen, everything was built around Wirtz. The ball constantly found him in between the lines. He averaged close to 78 touches per game. At Liverpool at one point, that number had dropped down to 56. Wirtz was seeing less of the ball, and when he did get it, it was often in harmless areas. Now, some argued that Liverpool's midfield just didn't suit him. Players like Szoboszlai and Van Dijk prefer long switches out wide instead of these sharp passes through the middle. Gravenberch carried the ball rather than playing through the lines. So there were many moments where Wirtz, despite being open, was often bypassed completely. He was running non-stop without actually being involved. Poor guy was just doing cardio. Now, of course, his positioning tactically didn't help either. Slot initially used him right behind the striker, but Liverpool looked unbalanced. They were more open on the counter and too loose in possession. Wirtz drifted everywhere trying to find the game and be involved, but by doing that, he kept leaving the spaces where he was actually most dangerous. And by midwinter, the patience around him had ran out.
I'm not expecting to see the Bayer Leverkusen Florian Wirtz in the first 7 games, but I'm expecting to see him just little glimpses where you think, okay, he can get there. We haven't seen much at all, really.
Carragher argued that Liverpool needed stability and that Wirtz wasn't helping anyone by struggling through these games. It was a two-way street. Wirtz hadn't been good for Liverpool, but Liverpool hadn't been good for Wirtz either. Because remember, for £116 million, you're supposed to fix problems, not need months to adapt. The Bundesliga tax joke followed him. People compared him to other players who looked great in Germany, but struggled in England. Although I didn't understand that at the time because Ekitike is from the Bundesliga and he was balling out in that same period, but whatever. The question on everyone's mind though was, is Wirtz just another systems player who can't handle the Premier League? What's worse is that Liverpool's results matched his form, a 5-game winless run in the league, their worst in years. At one point, Liverpool were out of the race for the Champions League. The other new signings weren't clicking either. Isak broke his leg, Kerkez didn't look that good, so everything felt wrong. The hype of the summer felt like it belonged to another team. Fortunately though, in life, after every fall, there's often a rise. And for Florian Wirtz, that rise began on December 27th, 2025 against the mighty Wolves. Wolves were at the bottom of the league, and if there was ever a game to reset everything, this was it. It was the equivalent to you playing your little brother in FIFA. Now, Liverpool were not great that night, but in the second half, something finally clicked.
Lovely ball, Wirtz, yes! No one's taking that goal away from Florian Wirtz.
For the first time in a Liverpool shirt, Wirtz looked like the player everyone expected. Anfield exploded. That goal meant everything. A fist pump from Wirtz. A tap of the Liverpool badge, his teammates swarming him. You could see how much this meant to both him and the club. After the game, Wirtz admitted it was a special moment. He spoke honestly about the league, calling it the hardest in the world, and said that he feels better with every game. That's clear when you watch him now, because a week before that, he had already picked up his first league assist with a smart pass that led to a goal against Tottenham. Against Wolves though, his overall performance was one of the best yet. He created more chances than anyone else on the pitch, he completed most of his dribbles, and he won so many duels. He was now finally finding space in dangerous areas. That's why he was able to score against Fulham as well, and Burnley. During this period, it wasn't just about Wirtz anymore either. It was also about his connection with Hugo Ekitike. The two just clicked. Ekitike spoke openly about how much he enjoyed playing with Wirtz.
I just love the way he played. It's someone like Usmail. Football. It's a really good footballer.
Together, they became the engine of Liverpool's attack. By the end of January 2026, the pair had combined for 6 goals across all competitions, more than any other duo in the league. That partnership fixed a huge problem for Arne Slot. With Ekitike holding the ball up and Wirtz running off of him, Liverpool suddenly looked more fluid again. The slow, disconnected football from earlier in the season was gone. Finally, things began to feel a bit sharper. Then came the game against Newcastle. Liverpool desperately needed a result, but unfortunately, these guys went behind early to Anthony Gordon, and the groans around Anfield returned. I mean, seriously, Liverpool go down faster than your local hooker. But this time, Wirtz came to the rescue. Just before halftime, he picked the ball up in the crowded midfield. Instead of getting pushed off, he danced through the defenders and calmly set up Ekitike for the equalizer. It was a brilliant play. It showed Wirtz's confidence and how selfless he is. But he wasn't even done. In the second half, he timed his run perfectly, took a pass from Salah, and finished it for Liverpool's 3rd goal. A goal and assist for Florian Wirtz, and he was running that game on his own. He was pressing, he created opportunities for others. It was him who was controlling the tempo. This was the £160 million player Liverpool paid for. In his last 10 games at that point, Wirtz had 5 goals and 2 assists. Since late December, no Premier League player had had more goal involvements than him. He was seeing more of the ball, getting into better positions, playing with confidence again. As a result, the mood at Anfield had also completely flipped. His fee wasn't being questioned anymore, and people were excited to watch him play. Once he learned how to survive the physical side of the Premier League, everything else followed. The harder he worked, the more his talent showed. Liverpool fans who were worried about what the team would look like when Salah is done don't have to worry anymore. The answer is right in front of your eyes. It's Florian Wirtz, a magician that can change a game on his own. The memes are gone, the doubts have disappeared, because Wirtz suffered the fall and he dragged himself back up. Now the future of Liverpool is not just Florian Wirtz. To see just how good his partner in crime Hugo Ekitike has been, you have to watch this video right here.